We'll give him credit.
For him.
I mean, so they keep letting people.
We'll call the July 2nd meeting of the Cookeville City Council to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Womack? Councilman Womack?
Here.
Councilman Miller?
Here.
Mayor Shelton?
Here.
Vice Mayor Wheaton?
Here.
Councilman Walker? Here. Five present.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite those that wish to do so stand for the invocation given tonight by Pastor Chris McMichael of Engrafted Word Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag.
Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus for our nation. We thank you that we are a nation of laws, a nation of order. We thank you, Father, we're a nation of principles, and we thank you for peace in our nation. I thank you, Father, for our council members in our great city. We God press tonight upon each of our council members to make decisions that honor you, continue to keep Cookeville and the Upper Cumberland safe. Father, bless our time tonight, we ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consider approval of agenda as presented. Is there any modifications?
No, sir, no charges.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries.
Thank you. Under appointments 4A, consider confirmation of appointment of city clerk. Mr. Mills.
Mayor and council members, I would request your confirmation of the appointment of Aaron Coons as our next city clerk to replace Anthony Klein, who retired after 42 years of service.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All those, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Very good.
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Under old business, 5A, consider approval of the minutes of council meeting held on June 18th, 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Under B, 5B, consider on second and final reading, ordinance 02-00507, zoning code amendment relative to extending development approval, exploration to disaster or emergency declaration. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. We've had no calls or comments since first reading. There's been no changes to the ordinance, and I recommend your approval on second and final reading.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Under the consent agenda, 6A, consider awarding bid for pad transformers for the electric department. 6B, consider awarding bid for LED decorative luminaires for the electric department. 6C, consider awarding bid for decorative globes, also electric department. And 6D, consider approval of unmanned aircraft system drone policy for the planning department. Is there a motion on the floor items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion from the council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes, motion carries.
Since I have a pilot project, can I fly the drone?
We can get that added to that policy. Walker.
Why, if you have a disclaimer in the record, you have to pay for it.
Why don't you wait till now to tell them we moved the pilot from us?
All right, under new business, 7A, consider hold a public hearing and consider on first reading ordinance 02-00612, rezoning of approximately 4.86 acre portion of tax map 67A, parcel 40, from CR Regional Commercial to RD Single Family and Duplex Residential. Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Here is a general location of the property under consideration for rezoning. Here is a site map of the portion of property that has been requested to be rezoned. The aerial view of this undeveloped property that's off 111 in Oxford Place. Here's an existing zoning map. Mr. Jerry Goff submitted the request to rezone a portion of the property located off Oxford Place and Highway 111 from CR Regional Commercial to RD, single family and duplex residential. The property is bordered by RD, single family and duplex residential to the south, which is the location of Cedar Hill Senior Living Facility, and RD zoning to the east, which is adjacent to single family residences within the Windsor Hills subdivision. Vacant property to the west and north is zoned CR Regional Commercial. The future land use concept plan element of the Cookeville 2030 plan depicts the area as best suited for mixed density residential development. The RD district is compliant with the future land use plan. Mr. Goff submitted the rezoning request for a future residential development. Mr. Goff was the original development of Windsor Hills, and when the subdivision was platted, he retained a 50-foot access strip from Oxford Place to provide access to the vacant property to the west. The number of units in the Windsor Hills subdivision exceeds zoning requirements based on the single point of ingress-egress at Nottingham Drive and East Spring Street. Secondary means of ingress-egress would be required for any additional residential development and would also help lessen the existing limitation of one access point. The area that is reserved for access. See that on the map? Here's a couple of pictures of the location of that access strip from Oxford Place in between the two existing homes. Now, this request is a downzone. To downzone the area from CR Regional Commercial to RD. The request is compliant with the land use plan and will provide a buffer for the single-family residence from any future commercial development on the remaining commercially zoned property. I recommend approval of the request. This was approved by the Planning Commission unanimously, and I'm happy to answer any questions you got that.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Do we have anyone that would like to speak about this item?
We need to check out stuff.
I don't think so.
No. All right, we'll close the public hearing portion. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? I have one. This does not, or you may have said this, I missed it. This doesn't access 111.
That's the plan. There will be, they're going to have to provide a secondary means of ingress and egress to develop the property. The zoning is a first step. He's still going to have to satisfy the zoning code requirements for an additional point of access. So preliminarily, this was going to have a tie-in to 111.
Okay. And is that something that's granted by?
TDOT, he's pursuing his permit from TDOT for that. My understanding, he already has the permit, but that would all be vetted through the next step.
We don't have any control of that, right? That would be granted or not granted by TDOT and not us?
Yes.
Okay.
It's their state highway.
All right.
Yeah, it's my understanding that they've had the same opportunity they built with
Sure.
CR zoning,
Sure.
built
Exactly.
businesses, so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7B, hold a public hearing and consider on first reading ordinance O-200613, request to close, abandon, and declare a surplus property, portion of undeveloped Poplar Avenue right-of-way. John Wood.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The Poplar Avenue closure request. Here's a site map for the area that's been requested for closure. Here you see an aerial view of the property. Mr. Burton Nelson submitted a request to close and abandon and declare a surplus property for acquisition, this undeveloped portion of Poplar Avenue located north of East 4th Street. The portion of Poplar Avenue subject to the request consists of approximately 0.33 acres or 14,375 square feet. The right-of-way is adjacent to Mr. Nelson's residence located at 342 Cherry Avenue and Market Square Apartments. So Mr. Nelson owns this property, this location. These are the Market Square Apartments. That's an existing non-conforming multifamily apartment complex located at 41 East 4th Street, and that is by Mr. Nelson. The undeveloped right-of-way is bordered by the Nashville and Eastern Railroad right-of-way to the west. The subject right-of-way extends from East 4th Street south to a previously closed portion of Poplar Avenue in Craighead, abandoned and surplus to ordinance number O080814, and ordinance 0160203. This property is zoned single-family residential. So from the map, the council has taken two previous actions. The area in blue was closed in 2008. That was half that portion of Poplar Avenue right-of-way. And in 2016, the remaining portion of Poplar was closed, along with undeveloped portions of Craighead and this other undeveloped road to the south. Mr. Nelson acquired the Market Square Apartments located at 41 East 4th Street in February of 2020 and is currently renovating the complex, and that is what has prompted him to request this closure. He's wanting to do an addition on the building that would have been a setback encroachment, so he's asked for this closure to acquire additional property to construct a laundry facility for that apartment. Here you see a survey of the property. The procedure for closure and abandonment of street right-of-ways is specified in Title 16, Chapter 4 of the Cookeville Municipal Code. It includes a submittal of a written request, a payment of a fee, submittal of a survey, confirmation that all affected property owners have been contacted and concur with this closure. This is unique. Mr. Nelson owns all the property contiguous with this, and it's not subject to any other property owners, only the Nashville and Eastern Railroad. All applicable city departments have reviewed this request, and there were no comments or concerns offered by any city departments concerning the request. This request was reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission, and the request will have to be a purchase of the property based on a value established by the city manager. So we've done an analysis of the surrounding property values that provided a value of $1.64 per square foot. That's determined by the land market value, excuse me, as included in the real estate assessment data. The petitioner does have the option to provide a market survey, a market appraisal of the property to establish the value if he chooses to do so. So, as I mentioned, this was approved by the Planning Commission as recommended by the Planning Department, and I recommend your approval of this request.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting related to this item. Do we have anyone that would like to speak about this matter? All right, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Second.
We have a motion. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seven C, consider authorizing the city manager to exercise the option to redeem the general obligation industrial and business park bond, series 2010B, taxable Build America bond, dated December 15th, 2010. Ms. Emily.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council members, in December of 2010, the city issued $7.2 million in general obligation industrial and business park bonds. The current balance outstanding on this debt issue is $3,215,000, and the bonds have a final maturity date of 2026. We are requesting your authorization this evening to exercise the option to redeem the remaining balance of the bond using reserves from the debt service fund. This will save the city over $300,000 in interest. The debt service fund currently has just over $14 million in the fund balance. With this redemption and the early payoff of the variable rate debt, we expect a one-time reduction in that. Considering that, project the fund balance to be $10,500,000 at the end of this new fiscal year, June 30th of 2021. It is recommended that debt service fund balances be at a minimum 1 year's debt service payments, and at June 30th of 21, we will more than exceed that amount. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, but I would recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
7D, consider approval to purchase bulk de-icing salt utilizing statewide contract number 507 ID 66848. Public Works Department, Greg Brown.
Mayor and Council, we'd like to purchase our road salt from state contract. Morton Salt is the contractor. The price is $86.04 a ton. Request your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
No.
Second.
Motion and second. Any comments? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7E, Consider approval to purchase one bulldozer and one loader utilizing statewide contract number 220 ID 48439, Public Works, Greg Brown.
Mayor and council, we'd like to purchase the dozer and loader from the state contract. Thompson Machinery is the supplier for each item. The dozer price is $190,597.08. The loader price is $177,331.97. Both of these are budgeted items and request your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Now, consider approval to purchase 8 police pursuit vehicles and 2 admin sedans from the statewide bid contract for the police department. Chief Evans.
Mayor and council, this request is to purchase, police, the Ford Interceptor SUVs on statewide contract from Longtop Ford. Unit cost is $33,692. We're purchasing 2 Dodge Chargers, for admin vehicles, both also on the statewide contract. Unit cost on those vehicles, $24,574. Total cost is $318,684. These are our budgeted items. Recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Any comments or questions from the council? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any?
5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. 7G, consider approval of lease agreement for 4 2018 police motorcycles for Chief Evans.
Mayor and council, this is essentially extending our current lease. 3 years ago, we signed a lease with Boswell Harley Davidson. That lease is now up for renewal. A condition of the lease is that both parties agree the lease will be extended for a year. We did budget for this at $12,000. I recommend your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion from the council? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
5 yes, motion carries.
All right, that concludes our agenda portion of the meeting. We have time at the end for anyone that would like to address the council on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone that wants to address the council? You will step to the podium, state your name, address, statement of no more than 3 minutes, that will be on items of general relevance.
My name is David Daniels. I live at 3468 Gentry Drive, Baxter, Tennessee. I am a dues paying member of the Dillard Judd Camp of Sons of Confederate Veterans. Back in 2001, we passed a resolution. The Dillard Judd Camp Sons of Confederate Veterans do hereby condemn in the strongest terms possible the inappropriate use of the Confederate battle flag by groups or individuals to espouse political extremism or racial superiority. That's who the Dillard Judd Camp is. The chronology of the purchase of our camps, of our monument site, goes as follows. Back in the year 2000, a few members of the Dillard Judd Camp went to Cookeville City Cemetery, talked to the super. We asked if there was any property down there that was unsuitable for human remains. He took us to 2 sites, the one the monument was on, and one at the city cemetery that went east and west, which was inappropriate because it would be conflicting with the regular monuments were. The city superintendent inquired from somebody at the city hall, who received approval to sell us that plot that we have. The Dillard Judd Camp 1828 purchased the plot on October 16, 2000, and received the consent of the Cookeville City Cemetery to erect a memorial monument, which we have signed by the superintendent of the cemetery. 3.5 years later, a fundraising, some on the Cookeville History Museum, some up here at the depot, with the approval and sanction and invitation of the Chamber of Commerce and the Cookeville Leisure Services Department, raised enough money to put the monument up and dedicated it on April 24, 2004. One thing you may not know about the Cookeville City Cemetery, the first 2 acres of the Cookeville City Cemetery was donated by the mother of Major Joseph Shaw, who fought for the Confederacy, was killed in Georgia in 1864. The battles were so fierce they didn't bring his body back. lived down there, and the family buried him on their farm and erected him a monument down there. But the lady that donated it was Mahaley Wiley Shaw, and has Shaw Hotel on the south end of the square. The Anti-Defamation League is by far the foremost expert on hate symbols. They have 900 hate symbols on their website. One, of course, is included the Confederate flag. We read it. We contacted the Anti-Defamation League. You are defaming the honor of our ancestors. They fought for that flag. Don't defame it. You are the Anti-Defamation League. So they changed the website, and they said, however, because of the continued use of the flag by non-extremists, one should not automatically assume that display of this flag is racist or white supremacist in nature. The symbol should only be judged in context. That is a memorial marker. There are several Confederate veterans buried in city cemeteries. The second mayor was Captain Harvey Dillard. He was a Confederate soldier. The land that the Putnam County Courthouse sits on is deeded to R.D. Allison, his successors in office, a colonel for the Confederate Army. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Step to the podium, identify your name and address, please.
My name is Cynthia Carrington, and I live in the county of Putnam County at Windwalker Drive. And I only know about this monument because I read about them trying to take it down, and I went by today and took a look at it. And I can honestly tell you, if anybody's offended by what that monument represents, they need a little bit of time on a couch somewhere because they've got some psychological problems and they've got some problems with hate themselves. That's to honor these young people, the people of this county that went off to war. A lot of them didn't have a choice. They had to go. Either they died in battle or they would die at the hand of the people that wanted them to go to battle. This is a memorial for the young men that did not return. And for anyone to want to take it down, shame on you. Because, you know, I read it, I walked up to it, there's not one word on that that's offensive, it's not racist, it's not putting anybody down, it's just honoring those who did not return from battle. And if we do not stand up for our history, where's it going to stop? Thank you.
Name and address, please.
My name is Billy George. I live in Cookeville, over by the university on Georgetown. I've been a lifelong resident of Cookeville, Tennessee. I am thankful and proud of the resolution that was passed unanimously with the code R2006-110, in which was brought forth on the June 4th, 2020 meeting addressing the Black Lives Matter. The resolution that was passed in it, it states, and our community will continue to promote diversity and inclusion in order to make Cookeville a safe place for families, regardless of race, to grow, learn, and succeed. I believe that Cookeville City Council has the ability to influence the whole Upper Cumberland region, be it that Cookeville is the county seat of Putnam. Putnam is, in many respects, the center of the Upper Cumberland region and could therefore lend itself to extending areas. Following the City Council's meeting, on the 4th, there was another one on the June 18th, where members of the Youth Initiative addressed concerns and also questioned what could be done. Previously, in the other meeting, it was stated in regards to the Black Lives Matter resolution, Councilman Walker says, we need to acknowledge racism and that inequality does exist. Councilman Womack says, a small step but needs to be taken, Black Lives Matter. Councilman Wheaton says, all should share in the same chance to come together for diversity. Mayor Ricky Shelton states, community is learning, taking every step possible to educate ourselves towards a healthy, peaceful way to move forward and that we can come together. I feel that the two initial resolutions that were brought forth by Councilman Miller in regard to adding informational placards, which does not hurt the monument, nor does it impede on anyone's ability. Those were the initial resolution, as well as the second resolution of removal of any city on city property as removal of any Confederate flag or what we know to be as a rebel battle flag. And that goes to extend beyond land, but also equipment, machinery, any property owned by the city. Considering that the United States Marines, Navy, NASCAR, and even as recently as the state of Mississippi have addressed the removal of such symbols within their institutions, again, just reaffirming that the idea of not having those symbols present on city property does not hurt anyone. I also ask the council to be aware that if an individual who utilizes social media in a public platform, it has already been deemed federally unconstitutional, that the individual utilizing a publicly social media page, whether they manage it themselves or not, but to conduct city or county measures, and they block individuals from responding in whatever capacity, silence them of a dissenting voice, it is deemed illegal by the Ninth First Amendment Institute versus Donald Trump that happened in the State Department of New York. Just to be aware that there are city council members who have pages as well as county commissioners, and that individuals have concerned and voiced that their voices have been silenced. Thank you very much.
State your name and address, please.
Thomas Savage, 1127 North Maple Avenue, here in Cookeville, Tennessee. Good afternoon, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone. I'm also the president of the NACP here in Cookeville, and we're happy to say that we have a great relationship with city government here and with county government. Mayor, appreciate the sit-downs that we've had with you addressing Black Lives Matter, and also the county mayor, county sheriff, and of course, Chief Evans. When we have issues, we want to make sure that everything is done right with local law enforcement. That is necessary to keep a decent atmosphere where people can participate and show their First Amendment rights. So I want to talk about, this has, I don't know how this went awry, but it's going to be addressed no matter how you look at it. And I'll tell you one reason why. Cookeville is an up-and-coming community. It's called the Hub City, and we are the next big city between Nashville and Knoxville, and we're growing. And diversity is going to come our way. And it's here. And oftentimes, and I've been working with the mayor and chief of police and the county, and we have been having conversations dealing with stuff that hasn't happened here yet. It's always been a deterrent. Well, it's upon us now. That memorial is a divisive memorial. I say that as a person, an African-American person. About 3 years ago, I was in South Carolina, Charleston, Mother Emanuel Church, where a guy came in and had Bible study at this predominantly black church and got up and shot everybody and killed them and wrapped that flag around him. That memorial, I have a heart for anybody whose loved ones have perished in a war. Kind of like what the lady said back there. Their loved ones, many of them they had no choice. My great-grandfather, Sam Cullum, is buried at Bethlehem Cemetery in Livingston, Tennessee. And he fought for the Confederacy. Not by choice, but he had to. His tombstone was given to him by the Sons of Confederacy. It's there now because he fought for them. That memorial says that these fighting men are the same fighting men that fought with Nathan Bedford Forrest at Fort Pillow and killed Union soldiers, black and white, who were surrendering. So I say this. Ms. Wheaton, you mentioned that you're not from here, but to know this issue, you don't have to be from here. It's been here a long time. And my last thing as I get ran off the floor, the violation of the SBC contract with Cookeville City Cemetery for a cemetery plot, was that a violation or what?
Thank you, Mr. Savage.
Thank you.
Hello, Richard L. Garcia. I live in Gainesboro. I just moved into the state about 10 years ago.
Can you say your name again, please?
Aurelio Garcia.
Okay, thank you.
I just moved into the state about 10 or 11 years ago.
Just ask you to speak up a little bit.
Okay, I'm
Thank
listening.
you.
Okay, what I want to say is, I am a person of color. I'm a Mexican-American, third generation. My great-grandfather fought with the Confederacy, 86th Infantry, with 300 Mexican men. My grandfather was born in Mexico, Cookeville, Mexico. He has no gravestone. To me, that represents a gravestone. I have no other gravestone. I have his enlistment records. He fought in Battle of Gallatin. He fought with 33rd Texas Cavalry on the border, supplying Confederacy with armaments. Mexicans were serving the Confederacy and the Union soldiers at the same time. But what I want to say, that is my monument. You probably don't have a lot of Mexican American people come to this room because they're afraid, because maybe they're not educated. My dad's not educated. I have a college degree. He's afraid to speak. When I took my daughter to go to Cornell University, he was afraid because someone's going to talk to him, because he told me we had a black mentor for her, and he apologized that he wasn't educated to strike a conversation with them at their house. What I want to say is that monument means a lot to a lot of people. It hurts a lot of people, but you got to live life on life's terms. And I wish a lot of Mexican families or Hispanic families will come to these rooms and express themselves, but they're afraid. They're afraid of everybody. And we have a lot of educated young kids. I personally taught at Gainesboro High School about going to college and bettering themselves. I don't know what else to say, but that monument means a lot to me and a lot of the Hispanic people that are afraid to talk, and a lot of the Hispanic people that don't like it as well. But it's very important to honor everybody. This is a new world. Live life on life's terms and don't mind. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I apologize that I am not against the monument, because I'm not. So my apologies do not work. You know, I am born a Confederate with Confederate DNA. My daughters are Ivy League graduate, Middle Tennessee graduate, another one currently in school. I instilled in them that drive to speak for what they want to speak in this world. Whatever they feel is right in their hearts. This is right in my heart. This is right in other people's hearts. But that monument means a lot to a lot of people. And it's not hurting nobody. It's sitting there honoring graves. I mean, when I go visit, you know, I see a sign of the cross to my ancestors who fought in this war, because that's all they have. I have no idea where my grandfather is buried in Cookeville, Mexico. But that is my monument to other soldiers that fought. And in conclusion, thank you for letting me talk. I was unprepared, so I'm trying to wing it. But just consider everybody's choice. The monument never bothers nobody. It just sits there in the corner. But it means a lot to a lot of people that have great pride in that, and to the men who worked hard to put it up, and their ancestors from here. But that's about it. I know my time's running out.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
And I just hope other Mexican Americans come up here in these rooms and talk.
Thanks, sir.
I'm Ed Butler. I live at 379 Old Qualls Road, Cookeville, USA. Excuse me, I'm a charter member of the Dillard Judd Camp, 1828. Had an important part in the organization, the design, and the erection of our Confederate monument. One of our first requirements was that the monument had to honor all Confederate soldiers. Old history, that written prior to the 1960s, especially the later 1960s, tells about a lot of people of color that fought in the Confederate Army. Now, you can't go to a Confederate roster and look at the roster and see which one is white, black, Chinese, or Indian, because the Confederate rosters didn't make a note of their race. They weren't put in separate regiments. They were put in a regiment with people from their home area, because they needed one another's friendship and association that was always very prevalent in rural America prior to the Great War of Northern Destruction. But we erected that monument after 3 years of fundraising. It cost a whole lot of money. But our ancestors paid a whole big price in order for the freedom, to have the freedom our Constitution guaranteed them. One of the great misconceptions that political correctness has put into our history is that the war was fought over slavery. My dad's born 1897. He knew 20 or 25 Confederate veterans, and only 1 or 2 of them ever owned a slave. So why did the South go off to war? Why did we fight so hard with such terrible shortages of arms and clothing and blankets and even horses after they killed about 1 million of our horses in war? Why did these men fight? Because they loved the Constitution of the United States of America, and it was being not just bent, but broken. I recently donated, my wife and I have downsized. The old house had 15 steps, and they were hard to navigate when you get to a certain age. But I just donated nearly 400 books out of my library to our new library in Columbia, Tennessee, which is being organized for research purposes. I've read the books I donated, every one of them. I started buying them when I was in my late teens. I've not read of anywhere in those books where the people that were fighting loved slavery. My ancestors that my dad knew that fought in the 12th Kentucky Cavalry or the 33rd Tennessee or other units didn't own slaves.
It's about 15 seconds, wrap up, please. So.
Why did they fight? Because we were invaded, we were burned out, they stole our supplies, our livestock, our vegetables, our gardens, our chickens, and Samuel Almar Croft, an elder in the Primitive Baptist Church, said, all right, enough's enough. And he went off to war. And my dad, who was born in 1897, lives to be 98 years old, knew his story by heart, and told it many times. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Appreciate it. So please state your name and address, please.
Hi, council members. I'm Elijah Anderson.
Can you speak loud so we can hear you, please? Thank you.
Sure thing. I'm Elijah Anderson. I live at 2790 Arbor Place. Born and raised in Cookeville. And I'm glad to talk to you all today. First, I just want to read a quote from the Equal Justice Initiative. We believe that how we publicly remember the past, tell the stories of who we are, and explain how our history informs the present directly impacts how we acknowledge historical injustice, recognize injustice in our own lives and communities today, and work toward the goals of truth, repair, and reconciliation. One of the things I'm hearing a lot as this has been going on is that the Black Lives Matter movement is working to erase history, and that's not true. We want to tell the history that brings the community back together. The history that's being told is the one that's dividing it. When we think about how our community functions and how the Confederate flag functions in our community, one of the most recent instances of the Confederate flag is when someone who was flying that Confederate flag from their truck attacked a peaceful protester. It is being used as a symbol of hate. The Confederate flag, one that we see displayed most often, has roots in the Jim Crow era, and it was used as a symbol to say white people still have superiority in this country. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I just want to let you know that we have to stand with every single person in our community. Black people matter, Hispanic people matter, people of color matter. And if we say we don't stand with you, and we're going to let these symbols that have been used to oppress you throughout our history stand in our town, then we don't stand with you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Amari Smith. My address is 1870 North Whitney Avenue, Cookeville, Tennessee.
Could you speak a little louder, please? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My address is 1870 North Whitney Avenue, Cookeville, Tennessee. I was originally not going to speak, but I'm feeling that I need to. And I won't be long, but I'm just bringing this for consideration. History is, as we all know, at least within this country, people who look and have my skin color have for years been oppressed in many different forms and facets. When we talk about the Confederacy and the Confederate Monument, it is to my knowledge that if the Confederacy won, I can't say that I would not be here without chains and shackles. That's honestly my insight on just that little bit of history. So to have anything Confederate related to people who look like me is terrifying. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I go to school at Tech. I'm a master's student. I've been here about 7 years now. I can't tell you how many times that I've gone and spoken to families who come here to Cookeville to leave their children, and they are terrified of leaving their children in a place that seems like it does not vouch for them. It seems like they are alone, and they fear that any day, whether it be by a police officer or random individual, that their children will not be safe. Even just recently, before this meeting happened, my brother approached by a man with aggression. And a man with skin that looks like this. So in regards to standing against something like a Confederate monument or a Confederate flag, I would like each of you to take that into consideration. Because for one community, it's history. For another community, it's oppression. And that needs to be highly valued because each member of these communities are equal. The voice of one should not outweigh the voice of others. So that's all I'd like to say. I don't want to be long. I just want to bring that up for consideration.
Hi, my name is Luann Nicosia. I live at 312 Madison Place in Cookeville, Tennessee. Luann Nicosia. All right, I have Robert E. Lee in my family tree, so even though I just moved here from California a couple of years ago, my Southern heritage means not racism. It means my Southern heritage. Robert E. Lee was a very good man. He was he loved the Lord. He was brave and courageous. The people who fought and died on that side, they deserve to be remembered. And everything means something different for other people. Me, it's not racism. That's my heritage. That's my family. Those are men who died. A lot of them didn't even have graves, and that's what that represents. So my point in this is just because some people take a rebel flag and go in and do something rogue, I'm completely against that. Because they hijack something that means heritage and faith and my family, and they hijack that flag and they go do something bad. And I understand that it means that the people who have done bad things with it have brought a stain to our history, our heritage, and that's not right either. What it means to me isn't that just like the rainbow. I'm a person of faith. That means God's rainbow to me, but another situation might offend me that the rainbow is used in. And I'm just saying, the city of Cookeville, if something offends you, like, are we going to take God off of buildings because an atheist? That would offend them. You know, where does it stop? What the rebel flag, what the monument means to me is my heritage, my history. It's not hate. It's not hate. And we all have the First Amendment. So we have the right to express our opinions, and then how we live our lives, how I treat people is what matters. I would welcome any I have friends, I mean, it's not the skin color, it's the heritage, okay? And it's not because somebody with a rebel flag did something bad. I don't agree with that. That's not my, so anyways, that's my little ding, right? So I gotta go. So, but I just like respect the things that everyone respects because of the First Amendment, okay?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniela. I spoke at the last
What's your last name, Danielle?
D'Agostino.
Pardon me?
D'Agostino.
Thank you.
I don't feel comfortable giving my address because of the things that I received afterwards when this was posted on Facebook, but I do live here.
You live in Monterey, right?
Yes.
Yes,
My thing is, race and religion are not the same thing, first of all. Second of all, you cannot claim to love the people of color in this town and support a Confederate flag. The whole reason that there was a Confederate Army was because they wanted states' rights to own slaves. So how do you expect people in this town to feel comfortable and feel loved and feel welcome if we are going to continue to fly a flag that completely represents the oppression and everything that they've had to go through over the years? That's all I really have to say. I don't think we should be getting race and religion confused because they are not the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Gail Parker. I live at 11743 Parker Road in Monterey. I'm a member of the Standing Stone Champ Ferguson Camp in Monterey. I was a charter member of the camp here in Cookeville when it started, and I was instrumental with the others in getting the stone put up at the cemetery. That thing was researched quite a bit to make sure that it was going to be legal to do. It was not put up there for any kind of racial problem whatsoever. We've got several people that are members of the SCB in different counties. I'm the brigade commander over 11 different camps in Middle Tennessee right now, for the next few weeks anyway. And we don't practice racism. We try to honor anybody that was a Confederate soldier, and we honor the Union soldiers also. That monument was put up to honor soldiers, not slavery. I have the property, and I have a flag flying on I-40, my property in Monterey. The big flag y'all see when you pass by, that's mine, and the camps. That flag is not there in order to do anything, represent anything except a soldier's flag. That is the St. Andrew's cross. And if you know anything about St. Andrews, he was crucified upside down on an X because he didn't feel worthy to be crucified like Jesus was. That's what that flag represents. Now, this is a different issue being the monument, and that monument needs to stay, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of other people, simply because as you pull down these monuments, that's one of the first steps in the Communist Manifesto. You destroy the history. You make them dependent on the state. You destroy their heritage, you destroy their morality, you destroy all the things that they stand for and make the state liable for everything. So you have your lease to them. This whole thing that's going on right now is practically a political situation. For years and years, these things have stood, never been torn down, nobody ever talked about it, but after the 60s, it started. And it's been going on ever since. One regular thing we do here when we induct a new member in the Confederate, into the camps, Sons of Confederate Veterans, excuse me. What the candidate does, he said, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to its Constitution and promise to defend it against all enemies. I pledge myself to loyalty, support, the activities of the camp, and to defend it, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, whose purpose is to cultivate, perpetuate, and sanctify the memory of the Confederacy. In so doing, I not only honor my Confederate ancestors, but also affirm my loyalty and devotion to God and country, which is so much a part of his character. Now, we have inducted several black people into the SCV. I have some really good friends that are black that represent the SCV.
About 15 seconds.
Okay. That monument to me it's a monument to the soldiers. It's not representing black, white, green people or anybody else. It's a monument to soldiers. And that's what it is. It should not be removed. It should be used there as history. And I thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Mark Davis, 711 Paragon Road, Cookeville. I do not believe that the monument should be removed. I believe that this complaint or this assertion that it's a false premise, it's a false conclusion, and it shouldn't go any further than this. I just believe that, when you have 3 or 4% of the population digging in their heels about a complaint or about a statue, a monument, a memorial, it doesn't warrant removal. And it needs to be recognized where this premise, where this conclusion has come from. This is a bad precedent for a city or a county, and who says that Cookeville is not already inclusive and diverse? Nobody. I don't think, I've never heard anybody say that people aren't welcome here. And it's a friendly place, it's a great place. That's really all I have to say, but thank you for your consideration.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Seoda. I choose not to give my address, so thank you, though, for asking. First of all, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to speak.
Is your last name Nye?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Shell. And I'm glad you guys are here to hear us speak. First, I want to say, hey, hana wa shite. Kodo word meaning today's going to be a good day. The reason I'm saying this word is because I believe in my heart, and all these people in the council's heart, that you'll make the right decision. I obviously disagree with some of the points that were made earlier about these monuments, whether they represent history or whatever. Being Native American, these monuments that are being taken down, or even if we want to compare it to Native American monuments, be it a mountain, if you will. We've dealt with monuments being destroyed in our lives. Our generational trauma of dealing with our burial grounds being destroyed. Now, I wish there was this much uproar for natives, as there has been for this monument in the cemetery here, but there wasn't. In fact, we were on native land. I was talking with a guy outside here, who let me know that, they're about soldiers, about the Southern soldiers, excuse me. And I understand that point, and I'm not taking away their passion for their view, but these were soldiers that fought for slavery, point blank. And saying that, being Native American, people would say our tribes were enemies of the United States, but we weren't. We were trying to protect our land, and we were trying to keep our way as well. So I asked the Sons of Confederate Veterans and people who are trying to keep this monument to understand that this monument doesn't represent their history. It just represents a moment in time in which they want to remember, because Native Americans have had all their monuments taken from us, and it doesn't keep us from praying. If you believe in your gods, or whatever God you're allowed to believe in, it doesn't matter how you pray. No one can keep you from praying, no matter where you're at. And if your conviction is strong in your heart for your soldiers, then you will understand that the warrior way is to hold it in your heart, that you are a living monument for these people. And so, being Apache, we were vilified tons and made to be stuff in Hollywood movies that were vile. People are upset that we're wanting to have the mascot changed. I don't understand what the big deal is. Why is it okay to call us Redskins? We're not. No Native American has said that they're Redskins, so we need these changes, I think, to better this inclusion. And this gentleman earlier said, I don't hear anybody saying that this community's ever been exclusionary. And I have to disagree with him. There's moments of racism, I'll make it quick, that I've had to deal with personally from people because they thought I was this, that, or the other. And I'm here to say that a move to this direction would help us be more inclusive. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Knight.
My name is David Denmark, 4743 Shipley Road. I'm a member of the, I was a founding member of the Sons of Confederates of the Charter chapter here. The reasoning behind the monuments is to honor our past. It's history. Can't be changed, can't be torn down and eliminated and forgotten. That monument in particular, in the city cemetery that's on private property, was one of the sole reasons that my father purchased a plot in that cemetery. And he was also a member of the Sons of Confederates. I purchased 2 plots in that city cemetery, beside his. We have a family plot. Because of that, and of course that's where my father is, but it's because that put us all together. It's our heritage. My great-great-grandfather lost a leg in an ammo depot in Virginia. He then went to Florida and became a sheriff or a constable at that time because they were constables. Without our past and our heritage, you are nobody. You are no one except whatever your name is sitting here in a chair without your past and your family. And that's what this is about. It's family. It goes deeper than a monument. It has nothing to do with what color I am or anyone else in here is. And the fellows before me, of all people, should understand what's trying to be done here because it's already been done to his people. I can't believe he's actually that way, but that's be personal. I don't believe that one person can file a motion and change the majority of a group. It should be done by a majority, representing the people that whoever that individual is representing their wants and not what I feel. And I feel like this is an I feel thing. So I'll yield my time at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Denmark.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Just speak up a little louder.
Okay, my name is Carol Fleetwood, 2605 Lake Point Drive, Cookeville. I think we have come to a fork in the road where there's the right and the left, and there are 2 different camps. And it's obvious by all of us coming up here one at a time. So I'm not going to negate either side. I'm here to look at a solution to the problem. The man before me said he bought a plot. I've looked at the contract, and the cemetery contract says you buy an internment, no plot of land. And it's very strict about the rules. There are several pages of them where the city, who has taken over the maintenance of the cemetery, has the right to accept or deny any monument or anything on that internment. It even has specific rules for the placing of the flowers. They can't go in the ground because according to Rick, the manager, they're weed eater. They don't mow the lawn. They weed eat 26 acres, and he has two people that help him. That's a lot of work, and they start at 6 every morning, so the flowers can't go in the ground, they go on top. Now, I think that it was there, this monument from 2004. I believe the city took over the control of the cemetery in the late 90s. I'm not sure on that. So it has been there for at least 15 years with the approval of the city. So there's nothing you can do about that. But you can start from now to make sure that any kind of land associated with the city will not have a flag of the Confederacy or a replica, because on that monument, if you've read it and looked at it, there's no flag of the Confederacy there. There is a replica etched in the monument of 3 different flags, 3 different patterns of the Confederate flag. So if you could ban from now on the flag flying on city property or a replica of one, it would make, it would clarify the laws for the future. And I don't think you can go back and remove that one lone flag. By the way, which is outnumbered, I went and looked at least a dozen or 2 American flags on those graves, just one Confederate flag. It would be nice if you could take that and put it in a memorial. The Sons of the Confederacy could have a memorial somewhere in Cookeville on private land and put it there. But if it's going to remain in the cemetery, please let us keep it as the only one there and not anymore. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? If I just came in, I'd like to speak, and I want to in front of all the people.
Come on up, and there's somebody on the phone.
Yeah. No, come, podium, state your name and address, please.
Hi, Reggie. My name is Gregory Edel, 1509 Renee Circle, Cookeville, Tennessee, 38506.
You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Start. I'm a citizen of Putnam County, have been for many years. I'm here because I'm in vehement opposition to Mark's resolutions. I read in a post and a quote from Mark Miller, I removed the post just due to there being some legal issues with a new section that was just presented to me. Miller said that section of the document was not presented to me until late last night or early this morning. Obviously, he wasn't prepared for the legality of this issue, number one. Number two, Miller said he has taken action on what he feels is an important issue to all Cookeville citizens. Well, I'm a Cookeville citizen, and what he feels isn't what I feel, and I don't believe what a majority of Cookeville citizens feel. Number one, is an important issue to all Cookeville citizens. He said, helping everyone feel welcome in the city is his goal. Quote, I just want the city to be the most inclusive, diverse city in the United States, quote, end quote. Miller said, monuments that do not lead to diversity and inclusion within the city, I do not agree with. I don't feel they should be part of the city, end quote again. You can't please all the people all the time. You can please some of the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. And with this specific issue, this is a springboard. We're all adults. We all hopefully think for ourselves for a greater agenda that he's bought into, because his quote again on 105.7 News, the proposals comes after a recent attack of an individual during a BLM protest in Cookeville. Miller said he wants the city to step up and say they do not accept the ideologies of the Confederate flag. All of a sudden, because of that one incident of somebody that lost their temper, we're all human, now he does not accept the idea. What about not accepting the ideologies of these terrorist organizations called Antifa and Black Lives Matter? What about that? What about the opposition to that? Obviously, he's being bought and paid for to endorse those movements, obviously. and I'm in vehement opposition to this. And it's a springboard to not only start with the Confederacy, and then to go for the American flag, to go to anything that has to do with Christianity, the cross, Jesus, or Bibles, and or. And I spoke my piece. Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes. Come to the lecture and your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Joe Nicosia, address 3012 Madison Place, here in Cookeville. I really wasn't prepared to speak today, but I'm just going to say what's on my mind, and in my opinion, this is a very sad day for Cookeville, for this event to even be happening. There are certain groups in this country that are trying to erase history, and that's the bottom line. That's what it's down to. People are trying to erase our history. We're seeing it all over the country, and it's very sad. I helped guard that monument in the cemetery here. And it's just, it's sad for me to see that when you're trying to honor your veterans, the people who fought for this country, that we're trying to forget them and we're trying to erase them. And I'll fight to the end to make sure that these monuments and the respect for these veterans hold place. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Ashley, I don't really feel comfortable stating my address.
What?
In Monterey, I live.
Monterey, okay, just speak up real loud, okay?
Okay.
Tell me your last name again.
Yaldacina.
Okay.
I just think it's kind of interesting that all these people that are coming up here to speak in defense of the Confederacy, and they're not for removing the Confederate flag or the monument. They all are saying that we want to erase history, but erasing history would kind of not really do us the justice that we want to serve, because history kind of reveals the things that we find wrong with this country. I don't think we're terrorist organizations, because the KKK hasn't even been considered a terrorist organization. We just want equality for everybody, and we want peace and love for everybody, and sometimes, like, that's not going to be the most peaceful situation. We're going to have to speak out. We're going to have to be out there with our protest signs, and we're going to have to fight for what's right, because not everything that's in and that's happened in this country should be accepted. And I just think that it's not a matter of necessarily removing the monuments. I think we just kind of want the city to take into consideration that we just don't want you guys to support it. Like, we'd like something, you know, maybe a sign or something that says, you know, Cookeville's not necessarily associated with this. This is a private monument. It's because we don't want to erase history. We know people have fought for what they believed was right at one point, and they risked their lives, and people have died. But, you know, Black people have died too because of these wars and all the things that have happened. And I just think that we should honor those people as well and stand by the people that don't feel included in this town, because a lot of them feel that way, and they're standing out there right now, you know. And people are saying, you know, no one feels that way, we can't please everybody. But it's like we could say the exact same thing. You know, we can't please everyone, so let's get rid of something, or let's let them know that we don't necessarily agree with it and we don't want to be associated with it, because we want everybody to feel included in this town. We want everybody to know we stand with you, and we know that America doesn't have the most inclusive past. And isn't that what America is supposed to stand for? Inclusivity, diversity. You know, it's not just about, I'm sorry to say this, but white people. It's about everybody else too, and I just feel like we are on stolen land at the end of the day. People have fought wars on it, yeah, but what about justice for all those people too?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
is James Denmark, 5390 Joe Martin Road, Cookeville.
If you wouldn't mind speaking up a little bit, sir. That doesn't work. You just talk louder.
Okay, my name is James Denmark, 5390 Joe Martin Road, Cookeville, Tennessee. I'm absolutely astounded at what people are coming in here and telling me. A young lady says, we should just change our world because we feel insulted. I'm insulted. I'm insulted that somebody would come in here and say that my grandparents, who most of them died during the Civil War, my great-grandparents who died during the Civil War. My brother David pointed out that my great-grandfather on one side lost his leg and became a constable down in Florida. I have another grandfather who fought in the Union Army. We don't talk about him very much. He was a carpetbagger after the war, and we just kind of tolerate him. My father was a member of the Confederate Veterans, and like he said, he was buried up there on that hill because of that monument. And that's history. It may not be pretty history, but it's history. And if you don't teach history, you repeat it. Makes no difference whether it's good history or bad history, you need to know what it is. There it is. Don't destroy it. If we tear down this statue, or this monument, what are we going to tear down next? When is somebody going to point out that Martin Luther King was opposed to gay marriage, so we should destroy his statues as well? Who else are we going to destroy? What else? Washington? He was a slave owner. That was what was done in those days. Now let's get rid of the rest of our founding fathers for the same reason. They were all slave owners. You have history here. You don't have somebody's whim today. It's things that should be preserved, taught. You may not agree with it. You may not teach it in a fashionable way, but there it is. It represents our past. And if you tear it down, it will also represent our future. I'll yield back my time.
Anyone else? Sorry, she had already started up.
Thank you, sir.
State your name and address right up at the podium, please. Thank you.
My name is Pam Page, Gainesboro, Tennessee.
Did you say Pam?
Pam
Tam Hayes?
Page.
Gotcha. Thank you. Go right ahead.
I'd like to start with a few quotes. Elevate every man to depress none. We breathe the same air and live in the same land. Why then can we not live as brothers? I would think that a lot of people in this place would probably agree with those sentiments. Those sentiments were spoken at the Independent Order Pole Bearers Association, which was a precursor to the NAACP by General Nathan Bedford Forrest. It's centered on that one probably for a lot of people, because most people I have found have never heard those words. And another statement that he made is, we may differ in color, but not in sentiment. Now, I realize that I am not a citizen of your county, but coming from a rural area, I've seen many, many dollars in your county, because we do not have shopping, medical care, and so on and so forth. So many of the rural counties come to work, shop, play in your city. And I will tell you that since this has started, I personally do not feel safe coming to your city, because I feel like a small number of people have taken it hostage. I am very much for leaving the monument alone, as it represents history. And my final thought to these people who would like to take it down is that each and every one of us want to leave a legacy to our children and our grandchildren, guess what? Let's just erase you when you die. You didn't exist either. Is that really what you want? Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Rick Brothers, 450 Briar Gateway. I've been here in Cookeville for 63 years. My ancestors have been within a 100-mile radius of here since 1799. I had several ancestors that fought in the Civil War. The monument over here is not about racism. It's about honoring our war dead. About 95 or better percent of people that fought the Civil War weren't fighting to keep slavery. They were fighting for their homes and their families if they were in the South. I feel like that this has all just really stirred up a lot of things for our town that is really embarrassing. And I have family members in the city cemetery. My mother and father and my brother are all buried over there. And I feel like that this has opened up a gate for people to come through and vandalize and what have you. And I don't think that the monument should be taken down. I think it should be left alone and to be an honor to our war dead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jody Harcum Edel. I am a longtime resident of Putnam County. My dad is a retired FBI agent of 40 years in this area. We've lived here a long time, and I love Cookeville. Mayor Shelton, you've done an excellent job. We appreciate all that you do. I am here in peaceful protest to stand against taking down this amazing war memorial. And I too agree, as the gentleman stated before me, that this is a memorial to families who lost their loved ones in a war. These are young men that did not come home to their families, and this memorial was put just to honor them. And I think it should remain intact, and I think it's absolutely appalling and horrible. I don't even know who Mark Miller is, but I think it's just a shame that he has even brought this to the table. So shame on you, Mark Miller, for bringing this. Just shame on you. If it had been your family, I'm sure you would not want to take down that memorial at all. This is not about racism. This is about honoring people's family members that have passed on and give them a headstone of some sort that they can go to and that they can remember them. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Phoenix Ray.
Pardon?
Phoenix Ray. I live on North Dixie Avenue. Mark can probably tell you exactly where. So I was born and raised in Cookeville, and I graduated from Tennessee Tech in 2017. Both sides of my family have actually lived in Putnam County since at least the 17 or 1800s. So without question, Cookeville is my home. I love this place. Love it very deeply. And I know that most of the people here are, they're speaking on the issue of whether the monument should stay or go, but that's not actually what I'm here to argue for or against. As a white woman who likely has ancestors that fought on both sides of the Civil War, the statue in question is abhorrent to me. However, my opinion is not the one that we should be seeking on this matter. The citizens this issue is most an affront to are the Black Cookevillians whose ancestors were enslaved by those who fought to uphold the values of the Confederacy. On the question of whether the statue should come down, I will defer to the voices of Black Cookvillians, and I urge the city council to do the same. Instead, I would like to use my time to address Mayor Shelton and the Facebook post that you authored and posted to your public Facebook page on June 24th. In this post, Mayor Shelton attacked Councilman Mark Miller for releasing his proposal regarding the Confederate monument to the media. He called the proposal inflammatory without explaining what exactly the proposal was, likely with the intent to sway voters, which may be unlikely to research and read the proposal on their own. Mayor Shelton, you accused Councilman Miller of taking liberty to speak on behalf of the entire council. We must have read different articles because I saw no evidence of Councilman Miller speaking on behalf of anyone but himself and the constituents he has spoken to in the article that I read. For the past 2 years, I've worked in politics at the federal level. It's standard practice for an elected official to make a press release announcing their new piece of proposed legislation. Doing so raises awareness for the bill or resolution and encourages discussion about the changes proposed, which I think is a good thing. In short, what Councilman Miller did is just savvy politics, especially if you have reason to believe his proposal would be killed in a private meeting before the public had a chance to voice their opinion on the subject. Though we differ on many political points, I respect and acknowledge what you have done for my hometown. In the last election, I voted for both you and Councilman Miller. However, your behavior towards Councilman Miller in the past week is below the decorum I've come to expect from you in your years of leading Cookeville. Your Facebook post was divisive and stirred animosity between the city's citizens of Cookeville, even leading to threats against Councilman Miller and his family. This is unconscionable. I hope that you will apologize to him either publicly or privately for your inappropriate posts and reconsider trying to suppress the voices of the individuals on this council in the future. Remember that many of those who voted for you also voted for Councilman Miller. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Are you able to talk from the phone?
Yes, but we still have folks speaking, Councilman Wallace. Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Taylor Rector. You might recognize me. I slid down the slide with my husband for my wedding 3 years ago. I love you, Eric Shelton. You were voted for by me, and I think you have made our town extremely fun. I say that about you a lot, and I appreciate that. But I have to agree with Phoenix in front of me. I definitely think this could have been a major come-together point if your post hadn't been the way it was. Saying that the resolutions were inflammatory and then saying that they were already in the works and acknowledged or accepted just doesn't make sense. And the fact he got death threats, I know is true, because I was asked yesterday if it's still legal to tar and feather me, just because I organized a peaceful protest outside. I've lived in Cookeville, Tennessee since 2005. I love this town and consider it my home. I grew up and was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I moved here after Hurricane Katrina, with a lot of people who, the ones of color, did not find this town inclusive enough to stay at. We are 4% African American and 90% white here. We need those 4% votes and voices to speak on these issues. We cannot speak for them or on behalf of them. The only way to have them speak, since they're not in your realms of voting here, is to release these things and ask for input. By no means a sign in front of this monument on the cemetery do I think would have caused any type of division on either side. I think the division came directly from the post, and that's when back and forth started from that response. You have 46,000 people that follow your Facebook. Only 36,000 live in this town. People from outside are seeing those things and thinking, wait a minute, why do we have TCU? Why are we a college town? And yet those students aren't staying here. We have to ask them that. We can't stand here and point fingers at people who are trying to propose new things because some people don't agree. We have a history museum right across the street. It has a branch, the Cookeville Children's Museum. We love it. My kids have been going there since the day they were born. It was closed last week because they can't afford to keep the doors open. If we move these monuments and history that everyone wants to honor and respect and get all of their knowledge from into that building and charge $3. Maybe my kids could still play at our Cookeville Children's Museum. I don't think that taking a monument down, or even putting a sign, is gonna erase history. We have plenty of ways to obtain history. I also know many people in this town, two who have family members buried in that cemetery, that said they would be here today if it weren't for COVID to say that they don't mind if that monument is moved over. I also have about 4 people who are African American in this town who have thanked me for taking the brunt of the insults and hate from the few that have hate in this town. And all this is doing right now is giving those few a cover-up to create what looks and appears to be a not inclusive town. And in order to get our brothers and sisters from Nashville in here, we have to be able to open the doors to hearing others' opinions and perspectives outside of our 90%. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ray.
I'm a kid.
Please state your name and where you're from and speak real loud, okay?
My name is Dara Inman. I'm from 6th Street in Cookeville. And the Confederate flag, I know that no one in this place can tell me that it doesn't mean racism. It's symbolizing racism from the Confederate War, from the Civil War. The Confederates used that flag, and they wanted to keep their slaves, right? That's what they wanted. So that is racism. And when you have someone who is a racist, who is a Confederate, who is being worshipped by so many people, that is wrong. And I think that it needs to be taken down.
Thank you, Mr. Anyone else?
My name is Susan Richardson, and I live 3145 Jackson Passage, Bloomington Springs, right outside of Cookeville. Call Cookeville my home. I've had family in Cookeville since 1830s, and I'm a 7th generation Tennessean. I want to say that I have had family on both sides of the conflict that is being fought against. I also want to say that there was never a Confederate battle flag that flew over a slave ship, ever. The United States flag flew over slave ships. In that respect, what is this going to happen? We assign blame to our brethren. I had family on both sides of conflict. Both fought according to their conscience. Some of them fought to hold together the Union. The others fought for their homes and their livelihoods from being invaded. There were well over 1,000 free people of color. You need to go look this up. It's in the Tennessee State Archives. There were over 1,000 free people of color in Middle Tennessee. The Union Army came in and they were burned out as well as the white citizens in Middle Tennessee. There were atrocities on both sides. The Corwin Amendment, the 1850s, said that they would propose a constitutional amendment to make slavery a permanent institution if the South would sign it. They would not. There were still 3 slave states after the Emancipation Proclamation. Of those states in the North, they did not relinquish their slaves until the 13th Amendment was ratified. What we need to understand is I had family on both sides of the conflict, as most of you do. Most of you who are 2nd, 3rd generation Tennesseans had family on both sides of this conflict. Black, white, whatever color you are. Many of us had family members that died in prisoner of war concentration camps. I had a 3rd great-grandfather who died in a Union concentration camp. He has no monument. We don't know where his grave is. There are burial trenches from the Civil War at Chickamauga that I visited last year. We don't know how many thousands of young men are there, but many of them are from our area that have no monument. So I just want to say that if you consider your own history seriously, something like this can stand for your family as well as it does for mine. I thank you for your time.
Sure.
My name is Keith Chilquist. I'm at 517 Eastway Drive. We moved here in 2012. First, I think the statue is part of the, what I want to call a ploy to stop Mr. Trump. In my opinion, this is all ridiculous. There's no movement that's going to stop history. What's being done is ridiculous. You look across the country, cities are being taken over for what reason? None, other than Black Lives Matter. All lives matter. Your life matters, your life matters, your life matters, my life matters. That's what this is about. Not a statue. These statues have been up for 200 years. Not this one, I know. This is absolutely insane. It's a division. It's all part of one world order. I appreciate what you do, Mr. Shelton. You're a great mayor. You're going to get my vote again, and I'm happy. Keep that statue. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Allie Sparks, and I live on Pleasant View Drive.
Speak up just a little for us, okay, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but these emotional explanations for why we should or should not keep a monument are irrelevant, in my opinion. This is a legal matter, sort of, and it's a simple matter, in my opinion, because we see Mississippi doing the right thing, taking down their flag. We see but Governor Bill Lee is calling a meeting next week to talk about the KKK drain Wizard bus, and they're going to possibly do a vote on that. So we see things happening, doing the right thing, and I just don't want Cookeville to get caught behind that curve. We need to be proactive and use this chance as a positive news cycle for Cookeville, and that we did something good for this movement, and that I agree with the lady before. I mean, if these monuments are important to people, they can go in museums, and that will lead to city funding. So I think there's ways around this, and I definitely think that the fact that it is a code violation, the fact that it's not on, there's no human remains on that plot, I think it's only clear that it should be removed. And if it's not, I know a lot of people are going to be extremely disappointed. But that's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Alex Parsons. I would not like to say my address, if that's all right.
Are you in Cookeville or
Yes,
something?
I am.
Okay.
I would like to apologize. I missed the first half of this meeting, so I don't know if this has already been said, but I'll say it again. I'm just going to read what's in the back of the monument in the cemetery, the first part of it at least. The citizen soldiers who fought for the Confederate States of America personified the best qualities of America. The preservation of liberty and freedom was the motivating factor in the South's decision to fight the Second American Revolution. That is what that monument says. It says the reason the Confederates fought was for liberty and freedom. This is what Alexander Hamilton Stevens, the Vice President of the Confederacy, famously stated at its founding. He said, "The Confederacy's foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to superior race, is its natural and normal condition. This is our new government and the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth. This is the monument, this is the history that monument seeks to preserve. This is the history that flag seeks to preserve. This is what that honors, and this is what Cookeville honors by keeping that monument there and keeping the flag on city property. If you wish to keep doing this, do nothing. If you wish to not honor slavery, if you wish to not honor some of the important history this country has, take that down, or at least, in the monument's sake, put up signs. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, first. Anyone else? Yes.
Junior Matthews, I'm from Livingston.
Name?
Junior Matthews.
No, of your pet.
Bear.
Bear, okay, thanks.
My family's been in this area since the late 1790s. They were awarded land for their part in the Revolutionary War. My fifth great-grandfather died at Talladega in the War of 1812. My uncle fought in Korea. I have cousins that died in World War II. My father was a veteran. I'm a veteran. These monuments are to men who fought. And I think I hear a lot of things about, it's about slavery. The South did not fight because of slavery alone. The South fought because of commerce. All these people want to run slavery down your throat need to go and start studying history and start in 1820 or 1830 and get the full picture. That monument ain't hurting nobody. It's a testament to the people of this area that went and fought because their homes and their land were invaded. I have a third great aunt that was raped and murdered by the Union Army that came through here. I have second great grandparents that are black. Some of my people were here when Colonel Stephen Copeland came into this area. I'm a mixture of everything from this area. And that's a way for me to honor my ancestors from the 1860s. I also have a graveyard, a family graveyard that I take care of. I've got a monument to my fifth great-grandfather in that graveyard because he's buried in Talladega. We do these things to honor our ancestors, all of our ancestors. I do it to honor my ancestors. The ones that fought in the Civil War never owned slaves. We were too poor to own slaves. Some of my ancestors were slaves.
15 seconds, sir.
That's about all I've got to say. I think the monument should stand. I think all monuments need to stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews and Bear. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles Cookeville. I live on University Square, which is right across the street from the college.
How do you spell your last name?
Hotaling. People say Hotaling, but it's Hotaling. So I'm here today to discuss the monument. I'm very sympathetic to the individuals who support the monument. I understand that they have historic values to their ancestors who may have fought on the side of the Confederacy, but this monument that we're currently discussing today doesn't honor, in my opinion, the people who fought in the Confederacy. I do not see the individual names of soldiers who died for the Confederacy on this monument. The gentleman who spoke before me, he was correct. Most people in the South did not own slaves. They fought, but the people that formed the Confederacy and to try to succeed from the United States were powerful people who did have slaves. And they took advantage of their population to fight for this war, so that way they can continue their economic pursuits by using slavery to power the South. That monument glorifies the Confederacy and the fact that they required people who did not work under their own interests to, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. It glorifies it glorifies the Confederacy, I mean. It doesn't glorify the people who fought it. It glorifies the movement towards maintaining their economic system, which relied on slaves. That is all. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Yes. Oh,
Thank you.
how y'all doing today?
Good.
What's your name?
Michael Carroll,
In Cookeville or where?
everywhere. Be quite honest, so you can't erase history. You cannot remove any statue. You cannot remove any monument. Not all statues and not all monuments are up. As someone who is a hero, if you don't mind. Some monuments and statues are there to remind you of the past, that way you do not repeat it in the future. My generation is believing a lie, and it's going to take young people my age and younger who know the truth to stand up against this. I turned down work today. I turned down a pretty epic hunting trip to be here. My hands are cut, one from an angle grinder, one from a knife, and then a cinder block fell on my hand. And I hate to say it, but from what I'm seeing, the other side, who want to remove these, do not work and have never worked a day in their lives with their hands. These statues and this memorabilia is here as a reminder, whether you like it or not, it is history. And if we keep going down this road, in about 10 to 15 years, the other side who have children out there with them, bring your children to something like this. Dangerous time. You should never bring a kid to anything like this. You never know what could happen. They will not even know that there was a civil war. Wrongly named, it is the War of Northern Aggression, because the North came down in a Federalist army and burned everything. Less than 5% of Southerners owned slaves, including African Americans. Okay? Here's my opinion on that. Since I have a couple minutes, I will share it. I am Cherokee Indian and Irish, but I'm an American. All things are to be put aside to let others believe the way they want, to do what they want, as long as you do not impose on the pursuit of happiness and free will or physically harm others, including children. We are harming children by taking away history. They won't even know there was a war. They won't even know anything. But they will know communism, they will know socialism, they will know a world without God. And if y'all are from here, I'm from here. I live here, which is in this area, but I'm from all over. I've been to almost all the states. I spent a lot of time in Montana. Alaska's next. And it's a beautiful place. And we cannot let the past tear us apart. Now, I see one light of hope in these people out on the other side who want to take this stuff down. And most of them are young, which is great. They're on fire, they're passionate, but they're for the wrong thing. And this is coming for your children. This is coming for your grandchildren. This is coming for your children, Mr. Miller. This agenda is being played out worldwide. You never thought it could happen in little Cookeville, little Mayberry. You thought you live a happy life, hanging out at the lake, grilling out, shooting guns with the good old boys. Me too. The time is over for that. The time for partying and going to the lake is over. We need to put all things aside and stop this before this becomes an extremely serious situation. Atlanta. Sir?
15 seconds.
Thank you. To wrap it up, look at Atlanta. That ain't too far. They went for CNN. They thought they'd play ball with this system. They said, we're for Black Lives Matter. Why are you burning us down? Because they don't care. These are anarchists. Keep them out of our city. Get God in your heart. And Mr. Miller, you pray in Jesus' name for wisdom. Do not sell us out, brother.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
God bless you all. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Anyone Anyone else? Right here first, and then we'll come to you, sir.
Hi, my name is Walden Hicks. I'm a high schooler here in Cookeville. I've lived here most of my entire life.
HLCK?
Yes, HLCK. I just wanted to talk about, I know that in one of these meetings, a resolution was passed that said that our community would fight for inclusion and diversity to make Cookeville a safe place for families, regardless of race, to grow, learn, and succeed. I know that resolution was passed. And I think that this is a really good step in the right direction to show inclusion to those communities that are affected by the statute and that are shown. These people have to deal with these statutes being put up, and they have to deal with the history behind them, and that's not inclusion. These people do not feel included. And I've talked to many of the people that are affected by the statutes, people who were hurt by these people that the monument is glorifying. They don't feel included in Cookeville. And this is a step in the right direction to show inclusion to those people and to create a more diverse and safe place in Cookeville for people of color, but all people in general. Comments made by Mayor Shelton were published in the Herald Citizen on Thursday, June 25th, 2020. He's quoted by saying that we don't need personal political resolutions to be a community of unity. Just be kind, speak encouragement, show respect, and do good. I asked if those resolutions could have abridged words with action made at that meeting that the resolution was passed at. I also asked if this public declaration made on social media platforms were deemed comments of kindness, encouragement, respect and good. I don't think those were. And I think that to bridge your resolution with action, this is a step in the right direction, to show people that they feel, that they should feel included in Cookeville, that they don't right now. So, that's a lot.
Thank you. I'm going to announce this that we're going to go, 7:30 we're stopping, so we're going to be done at 7:30, so just come right ahead. I know, you were waiting, he was waiting to be next before that other young man did, so let him go first.
Hello, sir, I'm Mr. Roy Cravens at 1200 Quail Hollow Circle. I'm the one that supposedly threatened someone with tar and feathers. I have asked some questions that are hard to ask. Nowhere in your post did you try to start in trouble with Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, I asked you, why release it 300 miles away if it's kept for the locally? This town is divided now because of this. People talk about having it removed. That's not on the resolution. The first resolution is already there. That's been stated. It's already been there before. So he should have done his research. The second one, you're asking for a sign. No one's asking to be removed. All I'm wanting is for somebody to bridge this town back together. I moved here 15 years ago. I've been in this town all my life because my parents are from this area. I'm from the north, lived in the ghetto, seen true racism that does not happen in this town, at no means. But my family from the South. I am part of the Native American. What we live in today's world. I got 3 kids. They've all been up here to watch you guys in action through the Boy Scouts of America. The problem is, this is going to divide our town, and it shouldn't have been started in the first place. Name calling and all that, I've been called. My address has been put on Facebook and told people to come after me. No big deal. I'm a big boy. All I'm asking is, figure out a way, Bart, Mr. Mayor, figure out a way to mend this town. I have friends, I have family that are Confederacy. Be honest with you, 15 years. Never seen it. I drive by it 100 times until this happened. 95% of this town did not know it was there till this happened. It's going to cause a split, and not a good one. I'll yield back my time, right, man.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name's Ricky Lanham. I'm a grateful Tennessean. I would like to say, I'd like the statue to stay. We need to be reminded of our history. We're lucky today that this isn't 1861, okay? Everybody in the Southland of America, regardless of race, color, they all suffered greatly during this conflict. We need to remember that as a society. We can't forget. It needs not be forgotten. We need to teach it. We need to stand up and let people know. It didn't matter your color. You suffered. If you truly study your history, look back in your own family. My family, I had people that died on the southern side, and we never owned a slave. So I know there's more to it than that. So I just wanted to get up here and say what I needed to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Anyone else? Just a second, he'll come to you next. You've been, raised your hand twice.
Hey, I'm Tucker Mountain from...
I'm going to ask you to speak louder and tell me your name again.
Tucker Mountain, from
Mountain?
Livingston, Tennessee. Yes.
Mountain?
Yes.
In what city?
Livingston.
Okay.
I just want to say one thing, is thank you, Mr. Miller, for making the city of Cookeville more inclusive and showing everyone that you love our city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Miller, for all you've done. We have to focus on the story.
Please identify yourself.
I'm Ira Strode. I've lived in Cookeville, Tennessee all of my life. We have to focus on restorative history. The monument glorifies the Confederacy, and it is stated in the Articles of Succession 80 times they fight to maintain slavery. Why is this the history we want to promote? If it is true that we learn from our history, the history we need to present is the one that includes all of us. Not a history that glorifies the capture, shipment, brutalization, and murder of Black people. We need to speak from the heart. As a young Black woman, these monuments are a reminder that people were fighting to own my ancestors. I used to believe that it was a privilege to live in Cookeville, a place where my race normally did not define who I was. But here I am speaking out against having to be Black. These recent events have made me realize that I live in a racially tense world that I used to not believe that I used to live in. I'm sure you've all heard this most recent quote that says, "I will respect your opinion as long as your opinion does not disrespect someone else's existence." This flag hurts me, my family, my brothers and sisters of color, and most importantly, my ancestors who fought out of slavery. This is a flag that promotes slavery. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Yes, ma'am. State your name and where you're from.
Hi, my name's Paula Walker. Currently, I live in Augusta, but I'm originally from Cookeville. I've lived in Cookeville all my life. Mr. Miller, I would like to speak to you directly because I'm against what you're trying to do to the monument, mainly because it represents soldiers that have gone away to war in our past and have fought for their families. And I have a story, a little bit of a story to tell you, because when I was 18 years old, the year that I turned 18 was 1982, giving away my age a little bit. My grandfather told me that year, and we sat and talked in his kitchen, I remember it well, because I was so excited about turning 18 that year. There was a lot of things that was going to happen that year. Back then, that was legal age, but he asked me to please, the first thing I needed to do when I turned 18 was register to vote. But in that time, while we were sitting at his kitchen table, he gave me a history lesson. He told me about the relatives that we had that had gone away and fought. His grandfather, which would have been my great-great-grandfather, his uncles, which would have been my great-great-uncles, had gone away to war and had fought for the families, my family, some of them were able to come back, some of them did not come back, and we don't know where they ended up. So to me, that memorial stands for the soldiers that were not able to come back home. That memorial does not represent hate. It does not represent people that own slaves, because I'm going to guarantee you, my family didn't own slaves. My grandfather and his grandfather did not own slaves. We were not a family of hate. My grandfather sat there and told me to be respectful of the flag, be respectful of people that fought, be respectful of all soldiers, of all military, exercise your right to vote, which is what I do every time we have an election. He also even told me about the women's suffrage. He told me to please honor that, which I know now this year's the 100th year, so I'm really glad about that history lesson. And Mr. Miller, I don't think you have had a good history lesson. I believe if you had had a good history lesson, you wouldn't have jumped the gun and tried to remove a memorial that honors people, because there's not hate in that memorial. Please do your history before you start trying to divide our town. Thank you.
Last one. Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank you for giving me a little bit of a platform. I don't have velvet on my hammer, so.
Tell me your name.
Michael Masalius.
I'm sorry?
Michael Masalius. I'm retired law enforcement.
Okay.
I worked here in Putnam County, and I worked in Detroit PD. I did 12 years in Detroit PD, got out of law enforcement, and got back in under the Andrews administration. Now, I don't have a dog in this race, but I'm married to a Southern girl. I'm first generation Greek. You want to talk about going through stuff? This guy has no idea what's going on. I'm sorry. He's a young little tech boy that's probably never even picked up a shovel, has no idea of the Civil War in history, but yet he wants to divide our town. Hey, let's face it, this is political. It's political. I got a file on him. I got a little group here. I put two of my guys on you digitally. I got a file on him no, don't roll your eyes, because I swear to God, I'll turn it over to the paper. They are signed by friends of his back when he was 14 years old. Things that he had said in front of a public notary, sworn statements. This guy wants to open a can of worms, we'll do it. Why don't you work with THP anymore, Mr. Miller?
We don't answer questions. We don't answer questions here. We just receive your comment and then that's all.
So I can't ask the guy that's trying to tear our town apart, destroy my wife's history, my wife's lineage?
I just said we don't respond from this. We give you your
Okay.
comments.
Well, I know for a fact he worked for THP, and I know exactly what happened. I trained THP officers. I trained White County officers. I trained Fairfield Glade special appointed deputies. Everybody talks to me. Everybody. Because they know I'm not gonna lay in the corner. I'm not one to lay in the corner. And I saw you walking with Trump during the hurricanes. You know I golfed with him? I lived in West Palm Beach for 12 years. I was a member of Mar-a-Lago. I saw you walking with him, and I saw you. Trump's a great guy, Trump. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? Get control of this council. You're the leader here. That's why we elected you. Get control of these people. Give them what the people want, not what he wants or anybody else wants. Because I've got signatures, over 5,000 signatures from residents with addresses saying, don't take it down. He's got a few people on Facebook that said, on Facebook, social media, ooh, well, there's a real winner. People that stay in their basement don't know nothing. I've got 5,000 hard signatures with addresses saying, leave it up. I'll get you another 5,000 if you need. I've been humping all week for this. I'm retired. This is what I'm doing now. Get a hold of your people, man. Please. This is your responsibility. You're the leader. You lead this town. You're supposed to be our example. And you're not representing us very well by even letting us come to the floor. You should have shut it down. No, we're not doing that. It's not hurting anything. I was out there, and we've got it on video. I asked 13 people, who is the statue? What's the man's name? Nobody could give me an answer. They're out there pandering just to cause trouble. Nobody gave me a name of that soldier. Not one person.
15 seconds, sir.
I'm done.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you for coming down.
So, we're past our time. That ends the, citizen time of our meeting, 39 people late. And, council, let's see, or do you have something, or do you want to, council members want to speak, or however, who would like to go first?
Well, it's all right, Mayor, I'd like
Sure.
to just give you, an update, it's been discussed here tonight, but, we had some resolutions that were proposed, and we discussed that, this could be done administratively, to address the issues that were brought up, and I wanted to report, where we were on that. Regarding the, signage at the city cemetery, Mr. Woods and, our attorney and I have met and discussed, and we're ready and prepared to move forward with installing signage on the northern and southern boundaries of the cemetery, stating that, and this is in verbiage we are proposing, that all headstones and monuments are private property, and the city of Cookeville is not responsible for the content of any memorial. Then regarding the display of the Confederate flag on city property, as I reported at our work session on Monday, neither I nor any department director is aware of the flag being displayed on any city property. To help ensure that this continues to be the case, the Human Resources Director and I are preparing proposed amendments to the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual to further clarify what can be displayed on city property. Of course, amendments to the manual will require the adoption of a resolution by the City Council, so once those are prepared, we'll bring those back to you at a later date.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Waller, do you have anything?
I stand by my comments from 2 weeks ago about Cookeville being an inclusive place, and I don't want to add anything more. We've had a long meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Dr. Miller?
Yes, sir. Today marks the anniversary of when Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. That's one reason why this time I thought as a city it would be a good time to speak about some of these issues. That monument to some people might be the monument to their ancestors that fought in the war, but also that monument it is the monument of the military that fought to keep them enslaved. That flag, the Confederate flag, is also to some of our residents, not that many, but about 4 to 5% of our residents, that the Confederate flag was a flag that was flown around their ancestors while they were being lynched. It is something that we really need to take a look at if we want to be the most inclusive, diverse city in the United States, to make sure that those symbols of hate are never, ever again allowed in our city. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I mean, watching what I've watched tonight has been very difficult. Watch people accuse one another, watch people kind of tell stories where they're hurting, and people in our community are hurting. And this is a very difficult time that we're kind of going through as a community. We are going through as a community. And it's tough for me to sit here and watch our town be divided over something that still remains as of right now, not business of this council. I think that's one of the challenging things about this. The council hasn't had an opportunity to see this through an agenda or on an agenda. An administrative change that was talked about Monday night, and that was the first opportunity that many of us had to even consider this or talk about it. as far as I'm concerned, you know, I think that if we're gonna bring things to council and talk about them, you know, that they need to be a positive message and unified. And I think I discussed some of that Monday night. I don't want that to go kind of unheard. You know, we've discussed positive ways to try to unify our community, to meet and develop a committee possibly to do that. You know, we've worked in the past week, worked to kind of look at dates for that and to schedule a time. Something like that needs to go through that mechanism of our civil government and needs to happen as an appointment or as something brought to bear by this council, because this council represents the people of Cookeville. You know, it's been hard to listen to the division tonight because, you know, I for one thought we were a very unified city. And I feel that after tonight, you know, we've brought voices from, and given them a megaphone to fight on something that doesn't necessarily need to be fought about. And I think that the important thing to go forward with is a message of unification in ways that this council can work together to benefit our town and to bring it back together and make sure that we are a place that is welcoming to all people of all cultures and all races. And I feel strongly about that. And I hope that this council can work together and bridge that opportunity in the future. And I know that it's working towards that. And that, I think that's important coming from this council, coming from myself. You know, when that happens, that's going to be a very important thing because that is something that represents this town and isn't something that is created outside of the agenda of the council.
Vice Mayor?
I just want to say that I think everyone on this council knows that this is a hard conversation to have. This is a hard topic to discuss, but we're discussing it. We're having that conversation. And I want to reassure people that it's going to continue and that at the end of the day, I think all of us want the same thing. We want Cookeville to come together and to be as inclusive and diverse as it already is.
A lot of things were brought out tonight. I think I'll stand by what we originally brought to the table with all of this, is the fact that had we had an opportunity to discuss this at a work session first, and then we would have had in a public hearing type format what we witnessed tonight to arrive at a solution. The fact of the matter is the resolutions that were brought at the time, I would stand by the fact that the language about the Confederate flag was inflammatory simply from the fact that we didn't have any. It inferred that we did. And it did create a lot of things going on in our community. You know, the cemetery issue, I think there's, my parents are buried there, my aunt and uncle are buried there, and I have plots there. You know, the city sells plots of land in the cemetery to people to put monuments on, to recognize, honor, and memorialize. The plots, as well as the headstones and monuments of private property. The city doesn't own any monument in the cemetery, and we're going to certainly address that with this sign, which again could have been discussed and done in an administrative manner. But I think talking about taking it down sets a very dangerous precedent of where does it end. And what do you find is okay or not okay? And is it something, you know, if a future council person disagrees with any other war that happened? Will a headstone that mentions World War I or II or Vietnam or just the word soldiers or veterans become offensive to be taken down? But make a point that if a person drowns now and you want to buy a plot and memorialize that person, that's okay. If they're not, person cremated, so they can't have a headstone. A monument purchased with a husband and his wife's name on it in preparation for future burial, like my parents had. It was up for 15 years without anybody without a body in the ground until my mother died and then my father. So, you know, again, what's next? If we have to be careful, because look, is next going after Jesus? We can't have a cross or a Bible or an angel on a headstone. Slavery and racism are wrong. They always have been, and they always will be. But whether any one of us agrees what a headstone or monument says, or whether like or dislike a person buried or memorialized there, a cemetery is a sacred place and should not be trying to desecrate it to fit any kind of agenda. It's just wrong. So I hope this signage can be that. I hope this committee can be something that we can move forward with, that we can find healing and unity in our city again. And this division and discord